Today on the Inside Scoop, Oregon, they capitalized on the momentum after a dominating win over Colorado. Now, Carr, four-star wide receiver, decommitted from Georgia on Sunday, and he is expected to visit another SEC school on Saturday. In Miami, they hit the bye week at 4-0. The Canes are surging on the recruiting trail. We'll talk to Azubi Charles of Cane Sport. Now, we're going to hit on all that. It's a loaded show, but there's two major topics that I want to hit on before we bring on our first guest. Today at 4 p.m., five-star athlete Terry Bussey is set to make his decision. So depending on when you watch this, he maybe already has, but maybe hasn't. He's the number 2 rated athlete in the country, 19th best player overall, and it's down to Texas, Texas A&M, OU, LSU, and Alabama. Tell me in the comments section below where you think Terry Bussey's going to go. I think personally this is down to 2 teams, Texas A&M and LSU. I think he's Texas A&M's to lose. LSU got that final visit. Never really felt like there was traction with Texas. OU didn't do enough. Alabama didn't do enough. I think LSU has the shot for the upset because they got him on campus last. But ultimately, I like Texas A&M in this one. All right, the next major development we need to address happened last night. But before we do that, hit subscribe to the On3 YouTube page. Look at that. We are growing. It's happening. Love it. Guys, hit subscribe. All right. The major development is five-star offensive tackle Jordan Seaton has canceled his official visit to Oklahoma and will instead head to Knoxville this weekend. This is a report from On3's Josh Newberg. Oh, wait, that's me. Your boy broke some news last night. 6'5", 295-pound Seaton will go to Tennessee this weekend for the Volunteers game against South Carolina. It will be an unofficial visit. Now, Seaton tells me he's going to take that trip with his uncle. And get this, he plans to schedule an official visit to Tennessee later this fall. So a big move for the Volunteers in this recruitment because Jordan Seaton has already visited Alabama in the summer. He took an official visit in the summer. He took an unofficial about 3 weeks ago, and he has an official visit scheduled to Florida next weekend. He also visited Colorado on an unofficial visit for their game against Colorado State. Now, how do I see Jordan Seaton's recruitment? Right now, I think there's 2 teams at the top. I would put, this is just my opinion, I would put Alabama and UF in that top group. Then you have, right on the outside looking in, I would put Colorado, FSU, Tennessee, Ohio State, and Oregon. I think Oklahoma at this point is out because I don't think there's plans to reschedule that official. So for now, I'm putting Oklahoma out. I think Colorado, I know they got that visit 2 weeks ago, so Colorado fans are saying, well, Josh, why are they not in that top group? In my opinion, I think he needs to set that official visit. Seaton has told me that he plans to set that official visit to Colorado later this fall. I just want to see it set. And then we got to see who gets a visit because he's going to take more visits. So who gets a visit between FSU, Ohio State, and Oregon? Maybe all 3. So you see where this is going. Seaton is in no rush to decide. We got guys coming off the board left and right, but Jordan Seaton's doing the opposite. I don't think he makes a decision until late November, maybe even takes it December 20th to the early signing day. The number 2 tackle in the country, his stock is only going up. Not only because he's a great player, but also there's just such a low supply of quality big men on the offensive side of the ball. Remember, Brandon Baker, the number 1 offensive tackle in the country, came off the board to Texas on Sunday. Now all eyes are on Jordan Seaton, the number 2 ranked offensive tackle in the country. And this weekend, as I said, he'll be in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I think the Volunteers have a real chance to make a big move with Seaton. We'll see how that goes, and we'll definitely be talking about it right here on the Inside Scoop on Monday. All right. Let's bring on our first guest of the show. We're going to talk some Auburn recruiting with Jeffrey Lee as Georgia heads to the Plains. There's going to be a ton of recruits there as well. We're going to start right there with Carr, longtime Georgia pledge, backs off his commitment on Sunday evening. It was a surprise to me. Might not been a surprise to you, Jeff, but was this primarily due to Auburn, or do you think he was just reopening his recruitment because it was time?
I think Auburn would certainly like to think it had a lot to do with Auburn. They have been on this kid extremely heavy since since they got on campus, really. This was the turn of the year, the calendar year. He came in for an unofficial visit in January. Got great feedback from him. Marcus Davis, even Trevon Reed have been really heavy in recruiting this kid, getting Nye back on campus for the Big Cat weekend back in the end of July. And there was some positive feelings there after that visit. And so they were expecting him to come in this weekend. And when he made that announcement on Monday, then it was our Sunday. Very big news, very positive feelings in Auburn. I think it's Auburn, Florida State. I think you cannot discount Florida State. You cannot discount his friendship with Landon Thomas. Landon Thomas, of course, the 5-star tight end who flipped from Georgia to Florida State. Teammates, close friends. Can't rule out Florida State, but I think Auburn certainly had something to do with him opening up his commitment or his recruitment.
Now, this weekend, do you expect him on campus? And is it going to be an official visit, unofficial visit?
Unofficial visit. Auburn certainly expects him. I do as well. I've checked with several sources in or around his recruitment. I know there was a report out there about Colorado, but everything I've heard since Sunday was that Auburn expects him on campus this weekend for an unofficial visit, which is going to be big. I think they would like to get him on campus this weekend unofficially, bring him back later in the year, maybe even closer to signing day in December. For an unofficial visit. So I think getting him here for an unofficial visit this weekend will be big. They're playing Georgia. It's going to be a raucous crowd. There's going to be a lot of recruits there. And, of course, Auburn has prioritized him, and he will certainly get the red carpet treatment this weekend.
Yeah. All right. So I was going to ask you when you thought his timeline for decision was, but if Auburn staff is looking to bring him in December for an official, we know that he's going to take this thing distance. I've been hearing the same thing as well. I don't think Carr is in any rush to decide. Now, moving on to some other news, then actually, Jeffrey Lee, you broke this news. It's on 5-star A&M commitment wide receiver Cam Coleman. He's going to Colorado this weekend for the Buffaloes matchup against USC. Now, he also said he's going to take some other visits. When do we expect him at Auburn? Because he's an in-state prospect that made that July 4th commitment to Texas A&M seemingly out of nowhere. And now he's saying he wants to take some visits. When can we expect him back at Auburn?
Well, he was actually expecting to visit this weekend. He was expected to visit. Some of his teammates are coming up, Dalen Upshaw, Mal Waldrop, maybe even Red Morgan. But Cam decided to take that. And listen, this is an attractive visit for recruits right now. Going out to Colorado for the USC game, I've heard several guys going or wanting to go. So, but Cam's going to Colorado for that official visit. And I think he'll be in Auburn. I think the earliest will be the Ole Miss game, October 21st. But I certainly expect him to be at the Iron Bowl in November. And I think Auburn hopes that'll be his second game of the fall. They want to get him back on campus. He took an official visit back in June. So he's got only unofficial visits with Auburn left. But I think Auburn is optimistic they can get him back on campus, maybe for the Ole Miss game, the Mississippi State game, one of the two, if not both, and then maybe again for the Iron Bowl in November.
I mean, it sounds to me, and you talked to Cam, but it sounds to me like even though he's committed to Texas A&M, I mean, he's still evaluating his options. Is that how you see this?
Absolutely, yes. Josh, you know as well as I do, this day and age, commitments are they're not very solid.
Some.
Yeah, I think that's fair. As Hayes Fawcett put out yesterday, it's decommitment season.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but Cam has been pretty solid to A&M, but he's certainly checking out other schools. I don't know how legit Colorado is to flip him. I don't know. That I don't know. I do know he's taking an official visit. Is he going to have fun, experience that? I don't know, but I do think Auburn thinks they're a very legitimate player in trying in flipping him at some point before the early signing day.
Okay. Well, the next visit I want to talk about, I think, might be the most important Auburn visit of the weekend, and it's not happening at Auburn. It's happening at Texas. California 4-star interior lineman, one of the best offensive linemen in the country, DeAndre Carter, who committed to Auburn already, is going to take his official visit to Texas. How should Auburn fans feel going into this weekend about DeAndre Carter's commitment? How's the start of college football season been for you guys? I know the games have been great, but you know what's not great? Finding last-minute tickets. Finding tickets before a game can sometimes be a nightmare, and do not let this be the way that your season goes. That's why I'm here to tell you about Game Time. It's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the big-time matchups. Game Time will get you to this year's biggest college football games with elite deals on last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee. Do not stress over getting into your team's favorite game, the biggest rivalry game of the year. There's only so many games you can go to, and you need to get these tickets at the best prices. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Guys are terrible at that. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Game Time, they have deals on tickets even after an hour after the game starts. It is the place to get last-minute ticket deals. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets on all sports and even concert events. So here's what we're going to do. Snag the tickets without stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
A little concerned. I've told our subscribers, our members, anytime a commitment takes an official visit to another school, I think there's reason to be concerned. I think it's valid. But if you want to look at the bright side on this, DeAndre Carter had planned this visit before he committed to Auburn. He's told the Texas coaches he gave them his word that he was going to visit for this game, and he's holding to it. Now, behind the scenes, what is he telling Auburn? What is his family telling Auburn? They're telling Auburn the right things if you're Auburn. They're saying, listen, we're following through on our word, on our promise to go out there. We're going to fulfill that. But as far as we're concerned, you guys don't have anything to worry about. So I know that's probably status quo for a recruit taking another visit, but at least at least you're getting that from him and his family as well. They're pretty close. They've got a good relationships with Auburn. The family does. DeAndre does. So I think on a scale, 20% maybe I would be concerned. 80% I'd feel pretty good if I'm an Auburn fan.
Yeah. And now Auburn also landed one of his teammates and offensive line mates, Texas, landed Brandon Baker on Sunday. That was a big commitment for them. He's at Mater Dei High School along with DeAndre Carter. Now, Mater Dei has a ton of prospects every year. They all go to schools all across the country. So I don't necessarily think it's a package deal, but it is something to keep an eye on. Another Auburn commitment, there's some rumors swirling about, and that's Auburn cornerback commitment, 4-star Jalewis Solomon. What's going on here with his commitment?
This is the guy I've had an eye on since he committed. Josh, I don't know if you were there that day he committed, but he woke up Saturday morning of his announcement. Chad Simmons and I were working on the batch. He was going to South Carolina. The graphics were made. The quotes were put in the graphics. It was ready to go. I'm on the golf course, and Chad saying, "Hey, dude, you might want to check out because something's going on." And so he went from South Carolina. Then he flipped to Auburn before the announcement. He went back to South Carolina about 15 minutes before the announcement. Then his family was late to the announcement, delayed it an hour, and then he went back to Auburn, committed to Auburn. So our subscribers and members have been saying, who do you have on Auburn's flip watch? Who Auburn commits? And I was like, look, when this guy was so undecided, he was so unsure, they were so even, South Carolina and Auburn, the day of his announcement, he's certainly a guy you want to keep an eye on moving forward. And then he's tweeting out he's Xing out some vague comments about not finished, and he liked Hayes's decommitment season tweet, X, whatever it is. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on as we move forward. He's anybody wishy-washy like that, you're going to have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, a wise man told me about 3 minutes ago that commitments aren't worth much these days. So I understand what you're saying now. All right, speaking about commitments not be worth much, KJ Bolden. He was at Georgia last weekend. Is he going to be at Auburn this weekend for an unofficial visit?
According to KJ, yes. His plans are to come into Auburn this weekend. So, do they have a chance to flip him? With the way Florida State's going, it's going to be tough. Let's be honest with you. And if anybody, I think Georgia, I think Auburn really does. I'd put them on the map at least, especially if he does make this visit and he's expected to. But yeah, he told me he's coming in. He wants to see what Auburn has to offer this weekend and go from there. So it's a big deal for Auburn to get him back on campus since he's he was at Auburn the week before he committed, and now he's coming back. So that's a positive sign for Auburn to get him back on.
Okay. Well, we'll see how this weekend plays out. We are really just scratching the surface. Auburn Live has so much recruiting info right now. It's going crazy. Jeffrey Lee, we'll probably talk to you next week after this big visit weekend. Thank you for coming on the Inside Scoop to kind of set the table here.
Always enjoy it, Josh. Appreciate you having me on.
Oregon hosted one of its biggest recruiting weekends of the year as Colorado just came to town. It was an absolute electric atmosphere in Autzen Stadium. And today, we're going to discuss what impact that win had on Oregon recruiting. Could a commitment be coming soon? Duck fans, do me a favor right now. Subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. Look at that. We blasted through 10K. Let's get it to 20K. Hit that subscribe button for me. Okay, let's bring on Oregon insider, Justin Hopkins of Scoop Duck. Justin, last week's game, it was well attended, and there was a surprise name on campus. Four-star Ohio State wide receiver commit Jeremiah McClellan was there. Now, Oregon, they were one of his favorites before he chose Ohio State. What do you make of his return visit for last weekend's game?
Yeah, there's been a lot of buzz around McClellan. I know Missouri fans are still kind of clinging to some hope that they've got a shot there. Oregon, much the same, has done that. They've just done maybe a little better job keeping it under wraps. Of course, when a commit takes a visit elsewhere, that certainly leaves the door open a little bit, you got to believe. And like you said, I think Oregon was Ohio State's biggest competition when he committed originally just over a month ago. And clearly, I think the visit indicates that is legitimate. So what I can glean from this moving forward, I don't think McClellan is on any sort of a flip watch. I don't think that, Oregon took him over and he's going to commit tomorrow. Of course, I could be wrong because that's how recruiting goes. But, I think they'll continue to recruit him. I know he enjoyed the visit. It wouldn't surprise me if he came back again. I do feel that Oregon gave him a lot to think about. I know that game experience was one of the best that they could offer. So this one, I think we're going to have to wait and see how it plays out. I do believe Oregon remains firmly in the mix here despite his commitment to Ohio State.
Okay, now another big visitor I want to break down from last week was Jericho Johnson, top 150 player overall and a top priority for this Oregon staff. He was in attendance, and what's the feeling you get coming out of this visit?
Yeah, I know I've mentioned this before, but if you're Oregon, if you're a Pac-12 school, there's not an abundance of elite defensive linemen out west, Aiden Breland being one, Jericho Johnson being another. So a school like Oregon or USC, the upper type schools, really have to prioritize those guys, And I think that Dan Lanning's done that here. He loves to prioritize defensive linemen. I think that was a big reason they were able to land Amari Washington a year ago in last year's class. And I think Oregon has put themselves in the driver's seat right now for Jericho Johnson. One big key I would like to point out here is, although he did take a visit to Oregon this past weekend, he still has not used his official visit with Oregon. So I would expect him to get on campus once again between now and December.
Right. Now, we don't know when Jericho Johnson's going to make a decision, but the next prospect that we're going to talk about, we do know his decision date, and that is San Mateo JUCO defensive back Sione Laulea. Now, Miami's involved here. USC is also involved, and Laulea plans to make a decision on October 8th. You put in a pick on the recruiting prediction machine for him to go to Oregon, but that was back in June. How you feeling as we're just over a week away from his commitment?
Yeah, and as we both know, June's a lifetime in recruiting, right? 3 or 4 months ago. I feel really good about my pick. In fact, if I was going to cast a new one, I'd probably even up the confidence a little bit. I think Oregon has been the constant there with him. USC has come in the mix late here and made a really strong push. Miami as well. Penn State was a huge factor about a month and a half ago, and they kind of faded out. So I don't believe that Miami is necessarily in the mix here. I think he wants to stay out west, and I do believe Oregon has put themselves in the driver's seat. They've had success at College of San Mateo in the past, and I think this could very well be the next one for the Ducks.
Yeah, a 6'3", 180 DB. Who couldn't use one of those back in your secondary? One more topic I want to hit on. Now that Brandon Baker's off the board, the #1 offensive tackle in America out of California, committed to Texas on Sunday. So now Oregon turns their attention to Jordan Seaton, 5-star offensive tackle at IMG Academy. He's the number 2 rated offensive tackle in America. Justin, we've talked about him on the show before, but what do you think the strategy is for Oregon recruiting Jordan Seaton moving forward?
It's going to be delicate, right? I think with a guy like Seaton, Oregon definitely has ground to make up, right? They're not the top school. They're probably not in the top 2, maybe even not in the top 3 right now.
I would say Alabama and Florida right now are probably top 2, but I've talked to Seaton a good bit, and I can tell you he's fairly wide open with things.
Which is great. And I think, for Oregon to kind of be in the mix there is great. I think there's 2 things that need to happen here. As you know, and we've talked about, he's not near making a decision. He's going through the process. He's got a lot of visits ahead of him. I think if you're Oregon, you want to save that official visit the best you can and time it right, probably later in the process for him, closer to whenever he's going to make his decision. We'll just assume that's December for now. I think you need to get him on campus between now and then, if that's what you're going to do, at least for an unofficial visit, to kind of keep yourself in the mix. You don't want to get too far away in his recruitment. But again, you don't want to, shoot your shot too early and miss. So, I think that's how Oregon kind of needs to play it here. So for me, I'm kind of watching when he might set his official visit up to Oregon and the timing of that, which I think could be around the USC game weekend, which is in November, or do the Ducks hold on and try to do something in December and maybe get him on campus earlier for an unofficial visit.
Yeah, and his importance only goes up with Brandon Baker coming off the board. All right, well, great time catching up on Oregon recruiting. Go to scoopduck.com. There's a ton more info on there. Justin Hopkins, thanks for stopping by the Inside Scoop.
Thank you.
The Canes season has started about as well as fans could have hoped. Miami, they're off to a 4-0 start as they hit the bye week, and it's a perfect time to talk some recruiting. We're going to hit on a few key targets, and also we got decision day approaching for one of the top JUCO recruits in the country, and Miami's heavily involved in that one. So Miami fans, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now for me. Look at this. We just crossed 10K. We appreciate you guys, and we need you to be a part of this channel, so go ahead and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring on my guy, Azubi Charles from Canes Sport, for some more insight. Azubi, we're going to start with defensive back out of California Junior College, Sione Laulea, and the Miami Hurricanes. They're in the thick of this thing leading up to this big decision day on October 8th. So just over a week till you decides. Oregon, Miami, and USC are kind of the 3 favorites here. Where do you see Miami fitting in this recruitment, and what do you think he's going to do on decision day?
Yeah, so I spoke with Sione on Sunday, and, he still isn't sure where he's going, kind of weighing out his options for all 3 schools in Miami, Oregon, and USC. And it's been, Miami head coach Mario Cristobal that's been kind of leading the push for Sione. The 2 have established a great relationship. They offered him back in March and kind of, been talking to him on a daily basis. He took his official visit to Miami in June and then was back on campus in July for their, late summer barbecue. And his conversations with Coach Cristobal are kind of just talking about his, potential playing early at Miami, which is something he really likes, and just him seeing the field and kind of locking down one side of the field for the Hurricanes in that secondary. And, one thing that I think that might be playing in Miami's favor is Sione's former teammate at San Mateo Junior College is currently at the University of Miami, Demetrius Freeney. He was another JUCO defensive back that Miami got in the portal this summer. So he's been in his ear telling him come join him, Cole Gable. So right now, I really do like Miami's chances with him. They've been consistent with him from the very beginning, and it's coming down to the wire. And, Coach Cristobal is kind of putting that full court press on him right now. So it'll be very interesting to see where he ends up committing on October 8th.
In your opinion, who's the biggest threat in this one, USC or Oregon?
Right now, I would have to say USC, since he's a California kid, and they've been the program that's been with him, since the beginning as well. He's always talked about, how he's liked USC from when he was younger and things like that. But I would sleep on Oregon as well. They're 4-0, USC's 4-0. So this is going to be a really tight race to the very end. And like I said, he still doesn't know where he's going. So we'll all have to, find out on October 8th.
Yeah, one of the top JUCO prospects in the country, Miami, right there in the mix for him. Now, a new development that happened over the weekend. Carr, he's back on the market. You guys know who I'm talking about. The 4-star wide receiver from Colquitt County, Georgia. He decommitted from Georgia on Sunday. And guess who was there to see him on Monday? The Miami coaching staff. Azubi, fresh off the decommitment, do you think the Canes are the favorite to land Carr?
Yeah, I have to say I really, really do like where Miami stands with this one. Like you said, Miami was quick to send a coach up there, Monday following at his decommitment on Sunday, which was Cody Waddell. And, after speaking with his head coach up at Colquitt County, he said the visit went extremely well. His head coach, Sean Calhoun, said, Carr backed off his commitment from Georgia because he wanted to, see what else was out there. Obviously, he's been committed to Georgia for over a year now, but he kind of wanted to see what else was out there and kind of find a better fit for him on and off the field. And I think that could be Miami. We see what they've done this year with the development of their receivers under Kevin Beard, look vastly improved from last year in the same exact unit. So that development, having Kevin Beard, on the trail, Cody Waddell, Coach Mario Cristobal kind of, pushing really hard for him is a big thing. And he's going to make his way down to Miami, relatively soon. So very, very exciting to see, what happens there, and kind of very intriguing to see what happens here, coming off the decommitment from the two-time defending national championship, and Miami's kind of really, really pushing for him at the moment.
All right, so we'll stay on the wide receiver topic. Miami commitment, Chance Robinson. He visited Ohio State 2 weeks ago. You and I haven't talked about this yet. So we also know UF was trying to flip him all summer. Where do things stand with Robinson and his commitment to Miami?
So since, Chance committed to Miami in April, one thing he always, has said was, I'm still going to take, my visits to other places, take my OVs in the fall to other schools and things like that. So I'm not too surprised or too worried about seeing him going to Ohio State or seeing, Florida kind of continue to push for him. They've been a program that's been in the mix, before his commitment to Miami. But with the way things are going with Miami, and like I said, the progression of that wide receiver unit, the offense looks very exciting under Shannon Dawson. They're putting up great numbers. I would have to say I think something very, very drastic would have to happen for him to flip elsewhere, him to really, consider another program right now. He's a South Florida kid. He grew up loving Miami. His family loves Miami. Specifically, his dad has built a great relationship with Mario Cristobal, Coach Kevin Beard, and all those guys. And they've done a great job of continuing to recruit him after his commitment. Usually, guys kind of say maybe it falls off a little bit, or maybe it's a little bit different after his pledge. But he's saying they're recruiting him like he's still uncommitted. So I feel like that's working in Miami's favor. And a lot of other things are working in their favor. Like I mentioned, the offense is looking great. The wide receivers are looking amazing. So I feel like something drastic would have to happen for him to, say, hey, I don't want to be committed to Miami anymore. I want to take my talent somewhere else. Yeah,
I agree. If you're Chance Robinson right now, you have to be at least excited about the improvements Miami's made. Tyler Van Dyke, has made the next step in his progression. It looks like Shannon Dawson's offense is clicking on all cylinders early. Now, we're only 4 games in, and it is the bye week, but the Canes look like they're off to a great start. Have recruits started to take notice of this hot start by Miami? Inside Scoop fans, listen up. Tailgate season is here, and I need to tell you about these Bird Dog shorts that I've been wearing. Bird Dogs were the big winner for me this summer, and I'm rolling with them right into the fall as well. I wear them to work. I golf in them. I told you guys I brought them on vacation with me to Florida. So, of course, they're my first pick when I go tailgating. Last weekend, I didn't pull up to Lot B with the boys in my old stiff khakis. No, I had my Bird Dog shorts on instead, and I'm glad I did. It is still hot out there, and just because football season is here doesn't mean fall weather is too. It's still swampy in September, but not in my Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs has this great cloud knit fabric that looks just like a nice pair of khakis, but way more flexible, way more comfortable, and most importantly, it keeps you cool and dry, even for a noon kickoff. Here's what we're going to do. I need you guys to go to birddogs.com/Josh or enter promo code Josh for a Bird Dog Tech hat with your order free. Got one right here. It fits. It's fashionable. It's Bird Dogs. It's great. So go to birddogs.com/Josh or promo code Josh for a Bird Dogs hat. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you.
Yeah, 100%. I spoke with a few guys at the Miami Central and Chaminade game last week, and everyone's kind of saying the same thing. Like, Miami's doing what they told me they were going to do, throughout the summer and last year. Obviously, that 5-7 season wasn't, anything anybody wanted to happen in Miami. But now you see, 1 month in, and they're already went away from their total last year. So something's working, clicking on both sides of the ball. It looks like home run hires with Shannon Dawson and then Lance Gidger on the defensive side of the ball. So kids are starting to take notice. Kids are starting to pay attention a little bit more to Miami. I would say kids are starting to take Miami a little bit more serious last year. obviously, you can't really sell 5-7 season where you're getting blown out by Middle Tennessee State, but you got a good one against Texas A&M. You got a decent one against Miami of Ohio that beat Cincinnati on the road, and you're looking good so far. So I would say recruits are really, really starting to take notice of Miami and take Miami seriously in their recruiting process.
Yeah, and I think, all offseason, Mario was probably making promises or telling these recruits, hey, watch what we do on the field. It's going to be improved. You heard that for months if you're a recruit, and now you're seeing it happen. It's a good sign for Miami, and we'll have more with you, Azubi, next week. Georgia Tech comes to town, and we already know Miami's going to have a great visitor list for that one, so we will bring you back on and preview Miami's next big visit weekend. But for now, go to Kane Sport, check out all the content that they got over there. Azubi, Charles, thank you for joining the Inside Scoop today.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.